In section 2.8, we'll continue looking at objects. In particular, all objects have methods, which are code that we can call to perform certain actions. And we'll look at how we call those methods. Now, we've kind of seen this before, but we'll go in a little more depth here on how this works. So if we have an object and a variable that holds that object, we can call the method a method there by saying the object name dot and then the method name. And methods are actions and they have parentheses after them. And sometimes we'll stick arguments inside those parentheses. So this is how we'll call a method or access a method in our program. So go through this. There's some examples that you can go through here. Now, when we tend to think of a class, we talk about how we kind of interact with that class and what we can do with that class. And so there are public methods that allow us to perform certain operations on an object or a class and do things with that class. So we'll walk through an example. So here's a histogram example. It displays a graph like this for us. It's called a histogram. And so if we look at the histogram class, we'll see there are some things marked private. We won't necessarily have to access those, but there'll be a set of public methods, and this is how we'll interact with our object. So there'll be a set number of bins, set bin value, and again, we'll provide some arguments here to these things. And there should be good comments here that describe how we use each of these methods. Get bin value, print histogram. So again, if we want to print the histogram, we'd call this method. So let's look at that in a little, well, I guess you first walk through some questions on it. And then we talk about passing those arguments to this value, these ideas. So let's look at this set bin value method. So up here, set bin value inside the parentheses expects two things: an integer, which is the bin index, and another integer which is the bin value. So for example, if we wanted to set this first bin to, I don't know, 7 or whatever this value is here, we'd say set bin value of 1 to 7, 1 comma 7, things like that. So here we're declaring an object, here, a histogram object, and then we're calling the different methods in it. So here's our, so when we declare the object up here, we say the name of the class, histogram, and then the name of the variable, my movie review scores, and then we say new, and then we repeat the object. This calls the object constructor method. Now, once we have this variable movie review scores, we can use that. So we can say movie review scores dot, and then we can say set bin value. We could set the first bin value, so 1 to a value of 2, so that we over 2. Let's say one of these movies sold lots or had lots of reviews, or I guess these must be stars that people are giving movies a good review or not. So maybe a lot of people gave it 4 stars. So here we're setting movie review scores dot set bin value. The fourth for 4 stars, where 10 people gave it that value. So we're setting that up here. And so by calling these different values, we can generate this type of histogram. Now this is just kind of an ASCII version of this fancier histogram. We can actually generate in graphics, but for this simple one, we're just drawing out the little dashes here to make simplify things a little bit. Now to view this histogram, we call movie review scores, and we'll say print histogram. At the beginning, we also have to call movie review scores and set the number of bins. Say there are going to be 6 bins here. So let's jump over to BlueJ and try this out. If you open up the chapter 2 code that's included in this lecture, you'll see we have the histogram file here. So if I open that up, let me resize that so you can see it all. This is just the histogram from the code here. It has public class histogram, It has a constructor here, both one without any bins and one where we specify the number of bins. We also have a set number of bins where we can set the number of bins. Um, we can set a bin value, and we can get a bin value, and then we can print out the histogram. And here's the movie example that we just looked at that constructs this stuff. We can actually run this if we just run. Movie example has a main routine we can run directly. So if we just go there and we run the main routine, hit OK here, it'll just print out this histogram. I forgot to clear this. Let's try this again. Run the main value, hit OK. And here's that histogram just like the output in the zyBooks here. But one thing's nice about BlueJ is we don't necessarily have to have a main program. We can actually create this ourselves. I can just, here's my histogram. I'm going to right click on it and say I want a new histogram object here. And I'm going to call it the new one without any an initial parameter. I give it some names, and because we call it movie review scores over here, I'm going to call it the same thing, and that'll create this movie review scores down here. And now I can actually go through, and the first thing we did here was set the number of bins to 6. So here was our movie review scores. Here's our different public methods, and one of them is set number of bins. So I'm going to click on that, and it requires one parameter. And so I'm going to type in 6. I want 6 bins to set that up. So now if I look inside here, oops, I can't see that. Never mind. So here's my movie reviews. Now I'm going to set these different bin values here. I'm going to set bin value, the first bin to bin 0 to 1. So again, I'm going to right click on here. These are our different public methods. And I'm going to go set bin value. Requires 2 arguments. The bin index, so I'm going to set that to 0, and the bin value I'm going to set to 1 because only one person gave it 0 stars. And then how many people gave it 1 star? So again, I'm going to call this set bin value, and 2 people gave it 1 star. So this the bin index is that the stars, and then the bin value is 2 people gave it that many stars. So I'm just going to go through and repeat this. 2 people gave it 2 stars also, so I'm going to call this again. 2 people gave it 2 stars, and just repeat this for all these. 4 people gave it 3 stars. Here in this example, only 5 people gave it 4 stars. I'm going to change that. I'm going to make that 10. Just because I want to do something different. 10 people gave it 4 stars. And let's say this is a really good movie, and so we're going to say a whole bunch of people gave it 5 stars. So let's say 8 people gave it 5 stars. And now we can call our print histogram here and print out our histogram. Oops, I should clear this before I do this. And let's call print histogram again. Here's print histogram that prints out our histogram values. So again, this is how we call these methods in code. We do this, but what's nice about BlueJ is, again, we can kind of walk through and call these methods directly with an object once we create an object. Okay, let's go back to our textbook and walk through the rest of that. Okay, so we walked through this actually in BlueJ, created that. We talked about these arguments. These, what we put in the parentheses of a method call, are called arguments. And we can have multiple arguments. So we have to remember when we apply multiple arguments that we put them in the right order. So they expect them, like we can look at the code itself. They expect a bin index and a bin value. So the first number has to be the bin index. The second number after the comma has to be the bin value. So walk through here, it walks you through another example with a coin flip histogram and setting that up. That example is also available here, and we'll walk you through the coin flip. Oops, I think I hid the terminal window. Let's see if I can get that back. Okay, let's run this coin flip again. And it just says 7 heads here, showing you how things work. Now, what that is talking to you also about is that we can so shows you in the coin flip that we can call these routines in different ways. Now, here's the full movie example code with the histogram code. Movie example code, histogram code. This is the same code that was that we've put over to BlueJ, so you can see it there also in that project. You can also run it directly here, as you can in BlueJ. Now, sometimes these methods return a value. And so we'll see that when we look at the histogram method, a lot of methods will be, let's scroll down a little bit, will be what are called void methods. They'll say public void set bin value. And void means that it doesn't return a value. And then when we call these methods, we'll call them on a line by themselves. So when we call set bin value, we'll say just movie review dot set bin value. We're not including this. We're not setting something equal to this or printing this out. We're just calling it on a line by itself. But some methods are going to return a value. And here, get bin value, it's public int get bin value. Here was public void, public int. So what this means is that here we were returning a value. So there's some value that's being called or returned. So what that means is that in our program, this get bin value, when we call that method, it's going to be replaced with some value that's returned here. In this case, an integer. Let's kind of look at how that works. So when we're calling get bin value, here we're using this coin flip histogram. So we're creating a histogram called coin flip history. And we're calling coin flip get bin value and getting a value of one of the bins. But because coin flip value returns an integer, we can put it inside a print line, or we could assign it some variable. So we'll look more at this later on, but this is just be aware that some of these methods will return a value. And so rather than like here where a void method we put it on a line by itself, this method we put it inside a print line or inside an assignment statement or something like that. So just walk through the rest of these exercises, and then we'll look at this more. We'll look more at methods when we start declaring our own methods.